Hello, everybody. I'm Gary Palmer Jr. You're you. Together, we're minting coins. And it's Whiskey Wednesday. It's Whiskey Wednesday, and we have whiskey in the air. We have ENS DAO grants in the air, and we have the IRS in the air. Can you smell it? They say it smells like money. I say it smells much worse. They have new plans to tax NFTs. Wouldn't you imagine that? And they're going to be taxing them as collectibles. What does that mean? What is a look-through analysis? Did you know that you could put collectibles in your IRA account? And that means, you know what that means? That means we're going to be able to put NFTs in our IRA account. Isn't that crazy? IRA accounts are going to hold CryptoPunks. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm excited. Steve Miller, what's up? Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, Gary. I actually read that it was the other way around when it came to the collectibles and IRAs. I thought it was they officially now can't be in IRAs.
Oh, maybe I read it backwards. Well, we're going to take a look at that. I thought that I read it that they could be in there, but
look, it's okay. There's great news at the very least when it comes to this anyway, because I've got the big scoop on that story for you later. So we'll dive into that in a bit.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah, well, it is good news because there's guidance. It gives us a starting point to start somewhere. That guidance could get worse. That guidance could get better. But that guidance is a starting point for discussion. It's a starting point for communication. And things can change. So I think it's really cool that we're starting to get, more clarity. We have Congress people talking about crypto, Congress people talking about CBDCs. And I think it's a big deal. I think we're definitely moving in the direction of sort of a adoption and acceptance, right? A little bit of fighting. But we're talking about it. And thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of the show. Check us out at mintingcoins.com. Become a member at mintingcoins.com. Your support at Minting Coins helps us here create content, the education that we do. It also helps us with what we do over at web3domains.com. Web3domains.com, where we are helping to tell the stories in Web3, putting it all together, and kind of, a little bit keeping a history of what's happened all this time as well. It's amazing, Steve, how many stories sort of happen. It's like topics that come up in Twitter spaces or topics that come up on Twitter or the world, right? Discord or everything eventually ends up back up on Twitter. But then things are sort of lost, right? To a memory or searching the Twitter history of a tweet. There's not a lot of people who are really documenting these stories in additional places beyond the Twitters and the Discords that get lost through time.
Well, I mean, there's a handful of people that at least are keeping threads, right? we rely on them, the Dreas of the world, the Evan 15s. Speaking of which, hopefully we see a little bit of Evan 15 later on in this show. Would love to get a chance to see him on. But yeah, no, I think that the thread curators are kind of like our official documentarians and historians in this space at this stage of the game. But then again, there's also web3domains.com, right? Where you can go and get a whole bunch of like direct info documenting the evolution of blockchain, correct?
You absolutely can. And, it's different types of content because, you can find Twitter content in Google search. But when you go to a Google search and when you Google something, you want there to be results from Twitter. You want there to be results from websites. You want there to be results from, if you want to remember something, you want there to be multiple threads where that story is told. And yeah, but there's a lot of stories to tell. It's amazing, how much cool stuff I come across. And there's always been this fire and desire in me to like bookmark things and organize things and yeah, it's like so much cool information that sort of gets stuck in my head. And then later I want to share that information and I'm trying to find a source material and I can't find it. So yeah, a little bit's just documenting it up for myself.
Yeah, look, I think we all need a little bit better of like repos, right? To be able to go back to some of this knowledge. I've talked about it with a number of different communities at this stage of the game. And like, even if it's just for stuff that's there for old old docs that like can help onboard somebody into like an NFT community that's just gone missing. You know, that type of stuff makes a huge difference. The question is, can you actually maintain it? So I would normally go to maintainer.eth for that one, but he's been kind of MIA, so is what it is.
Yeah, he is. I've been missing him. Cool. So why don't we get into the first story? Popping that up here. Yeah. So coming at us from CNBC, the IRS was planning to tax some NFTs as collectibles, and the rich, the highest tax brackets, would pay up to 28% on profits. Hey, 184, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Very good. Just getting started and just getting into it. Just bringing up the first story. The IRS plans to tax some NFTs as collectibles. The highest tax brackets, I'm supposing here, are going to pay 28% on their profits. And this is brand new guidance, or not brand new guidance, but guidance that just came out on Monday. Let's see, collectibles carry a top long-term capital gains rate of 28%. Other assets, such as stocks and cryptocurrency, generally carry a maximum of 20%. Wow, 8% more for your, crypto punks and Bored Apes and whatever else goes up huge. NFT digital assets, really popular. The IRS is going to use look-through analysis. So without diving too deep into the CNBC article. Hey, what's up, Ada? You're on mute. You're on mute, or we can't hear you. Nope. Yeah, you're off mute. Your mic's not working. Oh, do you have your mic plugged in? The new mic?
Have you tried Control-Alt-Delete?
Have you tried turning it off and on again? You take it out of the console, you blow on it, you put it back in.
I really thought you were about to go for the hokey pokey reference, and you didn't. And you know what, at 184, it's okay.
See here, trying to make this big for us.
There we go.
So treatment of a Section 408M collectible within certain retirement accounts. So Section 408M1 provides that the acquisition by an individual retirement account, an IRA, of a collectible shall be treated as a distribution from the IRA equal to the cost of the IRA of the collectible. Also provides that the acquisition by the individual, qualify under a direct plan of the collectible shall be treated as distribution. What we got here for the cost of the account? So the collectible, so for the section of 408M2, provides that for the purpose of this subsection, the term collectible means any work of art, any rug or antique, any metal or gem, any stamp or coin, any alcoholic beverage. You can buy an alcoholic beverage for IRA. Any tangible personal property specified by the Secretary for purposes of this subsection. So whether or not something qualifies is going to fall under this look-through analysis. And so what the heck are they saying here? They're saying that, for example, let's see here. For example, a gem is a Section 408M collectible. Therefore, an NFT that certifies ownership of a gem constitutes as a Section 408M collectible. Similarly, the NFT does not constitute as a collectible if the NFT is associated right or asset is is not a Section 408M collectible. For example, the right to use or develop a plot of land in a virtual environment is not a 408M collectible because buying a piece of land is not a collectible in normally, so it's not collectible in the game. And yeah, then TaxBit, already put out an article super fast. And, they seem to be saying like a similar sort of thing. Over here. So aspect analyze property of the NFT is a property unto itself. These situations disregard the NFT as a distinct property. Let's see. So it looks like a lot of rules, everyone. Looks like a lot of rules, and it looks like normal NFT degens who are buying and selling their NFTs, they may have to consider that they're complaining about a 2.5% OpenSea royalty, right? They're complaining about a 2.5% OpenSea fee. Wait until they see the fees that come from the IRS and their collectibles, huh?
So I'm going to chime in real quick because I think there's a really interesting piece of this puzzle that's really going to fly under the radar, at least for another day or two, until people realize the actual implication.
Give us the output.
So my favorite part about this is, number one, it's actually finally a smart move by the IRS because it actually respects what NFTs are at the end of the day, right? They're treating it as if it's a digital receipt. So the JPEG is the property element. And it's important to understand there's two types of property in the world. There's actual property and there's personal property. Collectibles fall under the guidance of personal property. What also constitutes both of these groups is they are also eligible for 1031 exchanges. However, you cannot apply a 1031 exchange between personal and actual property. Therefore, you can actually exchange NFTs now, if this were to go through, using a 1031 exchange program. So you could technically not have to pay capital gains on it at all, so long as you're exchanging it for other like assets. So it's a really interesting development there that's going to continue to fly under the radar as this story develops. I hope more people start pointing it out, though, because it could actually prove to be a really beneficial thing for the space at large. The question is,
in 2019, the IRS got rid of like-kind exchange for cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying that this reintroduces like-kind exchange for personal property, NFTs that fall under personal property.
Indeed, it does.
And like for anyone listening, like-kind exchange, back when people were doing this as crypto, it means you could have traded crypto like a Bitcoin for Ethereum and pay no tax. Because Bitcoin is a crypto and Ethereum is a crypto. So when you trade one for another, it's a crypto for a crypto. It's like a piece of art for a piece of art. But then they did away with that. And now we're saying that, people are going to be able to trade one NFT for another NFT without having to pay that tax. That seems pretty significant.
Yeah, it really is. There's only one element of it that I think is going to, it may not present really a hiccup. It's just about how you end up interpreting it. And it's the fact that, technically speaking, to pull off this exchange, you need an intermediary. And the way they define intermediaries at the IRS is really kind of too traditional for the sake of NFTs. So we're going to have to find a legal loophole there, and I'm sure that we'll be able to.
Or update.
But yeah, or they'll update it, to very, very good way of looking at it, right? Because there's plenty of different trading protocols out there. My preferred one is NFTtrader.io. That's safe. I do not recommend SudoSwap. That's unsafe. But if you were to consider that type of party, a proper intermediary under the guidance, technically speaking, you could 1031 exchange damn near any NFT on the market because they all fall under personal property.
Interesting.
Of all people, 184 should be most excited about this.
This is American tax, right? I know there's implications. Like I follow the European things, but this is American tax, and I've learned that is a complex beast, and I'm not going to pay very much attention to it. Though it has been interesting to see the news with was it the SEC and Coinbase. So I imagine we'll touch on that.
Out of curiosity, what do you think of all this? Do you think that the whole 1031 exchange piece is actually the sleeping giant of the story, or are you at all concerned about it?
You know, I was just thinking, so we have been covering the sort of, you know, the developments and how government has been approaching the bees that they don't know, A, it's a beast yet, and B, they kind of like not sure what to do with it since pretty much the beginning. And so I always think, you know, how long is it going to take them to put in place some kind of regulations that, you know, it's like a blanket regulation that all of a sudden it changes the status quo of what we know about the landscape. And I think that we're very close. I think that with the amount of crypto exchanges that had failed, and there was something really, really interesting that somebody posted today, and I think I retweeted, and I wish I like retained super details, but it really had to do with the amount of times both crypto and Bitcoin were mentioned by the president, I think last year and comparing to this year.
Something
and
Sean.
that, yes, it was Sean that posted it. And it really, like, I read this and I was like, here we are. And I think that we're on the beginning of that adoption curve where all of a sudden everybody's going to start talking about it. And I always gauge it in kind of out in the world where I'm in my networking groups, because I've been talking to people about crypto since like 2017. And most of the time it kind of goes like this until I give this pitches of the amount of banks that had failed and keep failing, and how, you know, Bitcoin had skyrocketed in a matter of like 10 days, 40%. And, you know, everybody else is struggling. And I'm sitting in a room with like financial advisors and financial planners and bankers that are all like, we're good. And we're like, they're just trying to overpromise that they're going to be great, which you're like, you don't know, dude. Like nobody knows. So you're overpromising. And everybody's curious. Like everybody's like, okay, so there's something to it. And that's where people start asking questions. And I had people that like have never, it's always been like this. They're like, okay, I want to learn. I need like a kindergarten version, but I think it's time that I learn. And when people like that come to me, I'm like, we're on the precipice. And with that precipice, I think that we are going to see a lot of regulations, because that is going to create a pathway for a lot of people to enter the market. And that's an opportunity for the government to make money. But more than that, that's an opportunity for the government to get as much control as they can before it completely becomes a runaway train. And they've been trying to figure it out from the very, very beginning. How do we control this thing that doesn't have a central authority? And so I think we are going to see a lot more of it. I don't know as to what degree this is going to affect us, but I think if you're holding crypto, if you're holding NFT, if you're in a space, it is going to affect you. I just hope it's not going to be like a huge blow.
Yeah, it probably won't happen in 3 months, like Balaji says. If it happens in 3 months, like Balaji says, that'll be a huge blow for sure. But it's gonna hurt. You know, by definition, the majority of people will be part of the late majority, right? No way around it, because math. and words. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. The last person, it's like musical chairs or something. The last person holding the bag, it's not fun. And it doesn't look good for the US dollar. It doesn't look good for the banking system. I know they have many more levers to pull. I know that the building's not coming down yet, but nevertheless, to your point, this is a tweet that Sean posted earlier from Debanked. 2022, number of times that the president's annual economic report mentioned the word crypto, 0. This time it was 255. Last year, Bitcoin, not once. This year, 75. Blockchain, 0. This year, 61. Digital assets last year, 0. This year, 45. And so the president of the United States is now talking about in 2023 that this year, crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain, so we see 3 banks failed. We see Credit Suisse got bailed out. We know First Republic is teeter-tottering. And there's hundreds and hundreds of other banks that are not doing good. I don't have the tweets up. I don't have the tweets up, but JP Morgan has a bunch of silver in some European vaults. It just came out that silver is just a bunch of rocks. These are the same people that call Bitcoin a pet rock, and their nickel is literally rock. It doesn't look good, and this is why we're seeing the shift, because everything is crumbling. It's really, really starting to fall. This is actually the fall of Rome. It is. It's just the banks falling, the financial sector falling, then finally mentioning crypto against all their might, having to put, let it be the IRS and NFTs, or the SEC fighting with the CFTC, rather Bitcoin is a security or a commodity.
They do say that every great empire has to fall, and I have been saying it for a long time that sadly I think that we might be on the precipice of this empire falling. But what I wanted to say is that Bitcoin was made for this. Like, I don't know if you guys understand or if you have the same sort of feeling of like, here we are, like we are arriving because the last crisis that happened in 2008, I mean, that's what the Bitcoin came out of. If you read the Bitcoin white paper, it was a solution to the fuckery of banks and and politicians and all of that. And I always say, so yeah, developments have been great. And so in many times during this last bull run, it really wasn't like people weren't talking about Bitcoin at all. Like most people were like, Bitcoin, what? Like it was like NFTs and trading NFTs and digital art. And there wasn't that kind of sense of like, where do we come from? Like, what was the foundation of this entire movement? And I think that now we're coming back to our roots, because like the gravity of this is like, this is what Bitcoin was made for those times where banks fail, where dollar is worthless, and people have a way to go on and to have a way to feed their families and to, have a way to, in some ways, create like a more personalized banking system among themselves without the help of, the banks that are here just to, steal and control. And not to go too deep in the rabbit hole, but like we are here. Like it was a solution for what's happening right now. And so, I think the world is starting to burn.
Well, cheers to that then, to the beginning of the end. Okay?
Salute.
I wanted to buy because we've been almost every week we've been trying new whiskey. on Whiskey Wednesday, and I wanted to get a whiskey that was like the world is burning whiskey. I just couldn't quite find it. Like I was like, okay, I'll go for the fire one, but the only thing that we could find at our liquor store, and our liquor store I think is pretty phenomenal, was Jack Daniel's Fire, and I'm like, it's just like not.
It's just Fireball from a different distillery.
Yeah. You know how I feel about Fireball, right? It's just like, yeah.
Nah,
So we ended up with the grown-up whiskey.
So what did you actually end up with?
We are trying Rip and Tucker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a super, super smoky bourbon, but it has like a really nice sweetness. Is 6 years aged, and it really it delivers in like the smoothness. Because sometimes like the smokiness is like a punch in the gut. This is like honey. It's really,
like honey. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Well, if you can track it down, I would strongly recommend Barrel Bourbon's New Year's Reserve.
Huh.
They drop it every single New Year. I've been collecting it since 2017.
Wow.
And this one is cask strength for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Strong as all hell, but it's really good.
Nice. Yeah, I have a casket strength from our local distillery, which I love, Iron Smoke, but I don't quite want to open it just yet. It's been sort of sitting there. It was a gift from Gary. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, maybe when the world is like there are flames and fire around, I'll crack it open. I think we're just like, it's just
You
like
guys,
a little
you guys
smoke.
see that French? I don't know if I should go find it. Did you guys see that French video where it's basically this is fine meme?
I've been seeing the This Is Fine meme everywhere this week, so probably, but I really want you to jog my memory.
No, this. Have you seen this? This is literally some people in France in what seems to be a nice place. They have stem water glasses and good meals, and the streets are literally burning. Right? Do you guys know about the protests in France?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
184. Is that news out there? You guys must know about that, no?
Yeah, certainly. Are we talking about the 2-year increase in retirement age?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's my understanding. That's one of the main reasons of why they're protesting right now. And it's just very funny. Like there's a lot of fire in the street in the background, and everybody's in the restaurant at the table eating their food, and it's literally the meme of the dog inside the house that's on fire. It's literally the meme in real life. All these people are like, "This is fine."
I love it. I love it so much.
Very soon, it's gonna be here.
I mean, it really does look like the sequel that Les Mis never needed.
Yeah.
Well, before we switch over, what's up, Novax? How you doing? I see you popped in.
Hello. I'm cooking up a little dinner in the background here. I just got done hanging out in Domain Plug space, and word is that there's an emoji off with Flossin and the emoji crew right now as well. So I said, you know what? I already know I have the best emojis. I don't need to go and tear it up and fight with people in there. I know I have the best emojis. I know that. That's all I need. I have the best emojis. I like my emojis. So I said, I'm going to come here and have some whiskey instead.
Yeah. Good choice.
I'm going to let the liquor do a little bit of talking, and I'm just going to say it. I think people are so drunk on emojis that they are not just blind to the old school actual letters and words, but they're almost fudding words. I would say there's some people, I'm not going to name names behind the scenes, But I think there's some people that are so bullish on emojis that they're fighting words. And I think it's an interesting game.
I like
think-
my words too. But I think you're right. It's definitely rivalrous with all this kind of stuff. It's just emojis are interesting. They're an interesting asset class, and also I think that repeater emojis are just the first expression of interest in them, and it'll be interesting when like word emojis and more creative stuff starts to become more in vogue and in use, because those things are interesting as well. And so words and emojis together is sort of a lesser seen combo, but like from the early on, I think one of the first word emoji ever was rabbit, with the rabbit emoji, and I recently got like goat with the goat emoji, and those kind of plays are interesting too. So I don't know, it's just a whole new asset class. So I think people are excited about different things, and then we're collectively kind of just discovering where the flock, where the herd is heading.
I think it's also the newness, because the .com and any of those, like, we just weren't able, you weren't able to do emojis, and emojis really came with I mean, I want to say advent of social media, but it wasn't the very, very beginning of social media. It became, I would say, a new language. I mean, not even like millennials, like we're talking the Z gens and even younger. Like, I remember the early days of texting where you had a keyboard and you had to like thumb text. It was like extremely painful. And then we went through the process of I know there's like a word for it, where you would do like the two periods and for the smiley faces, right? There's like a name for it. That now it's like, I used it once and my daughter was like, "Oh no, you're a boomer." And I was like, "What?" Like, we used to say LOL. I still do it, and my kids just like, they're like, "You did not just do that." And I'm like, "What?"
Wait, hold on. Your kids say that the LOL is like old school?
Yeah, that's like done. Yeah, LOL is like in the grave. That's like so over with. And so, but what I'm saying, those were like the early beginnings of how do we communicate via text without typing out these super long sentences. And so there was an evolution. And then I feel, the emojis came, and now the new generations are so well versed.
Is what the other ones were.
Thank you. They're so well versed in emojis that like they can have a whole conversation. And because in some ways, when you think about it, we lose so much through text. Like, that's why people are like, I think that's why there's so many misunderstandings right now, because 80% of how we communicate is through body language and energy. I mean, 80%. So we're left with these like 20% where we can't tell the tone or the cadence or the facial expression. And so we just get this text and you're like, was that like said jokingly? Was that supposed to be mean? Like, you have to kind of read into it. Well, emojis give it I think the emojis kind of compensate for that 80%. And in some ways we're developing a new language. And so I think that for us, it might be harder, but for the younger generations, when they look at the emojis, they just know what it means. Like, I look at it and I'm like, how do I put it in? Like, how do I know? Like, how do I call it when I say to somebody, like, go to this website? If it's not easy, like I get like, quad rocket is easy. I just put 4 rockets. But if it's, there's so many.
If they're listening, if they're watching, they're about to call you a boomer or something.
I know, but it's okay. Like, I am okay being a boomer because like I've been here for a long time, and it's very exciting to see all that. And hopefully I'll be here for like, hopefully I'll be the old lady, and I'll definitely be like, I was here when the internet was born.
Lol.
But it's that, I think that gives you that amazing perspective, because if you look at it from the linguistic standpoint, it literally, you start seeing the evolution of language. And if you are a geek and if you look into words and words sort of as energy, you can literally trace back the anything like the names, like even like Easter, if you're like a geek and you're like, why is Easter called Easter? Like you can go all the way back to like the old Hebrew and start pulling it apart through all these different languages and go, oh shit, that's why it's called Easter, because like, the East and the sun, and you start putting it together and it like all of a sudden makes sense. And so emojis will be like that. They'll totally play a role in how the language evolves. That will one day we'll look at emoji and we'll be able to track it back to like the roots of English, like English language. I mean, I know it sounds like crazy, but I mean, if we're still here having this conversation in 40 years, like I'll pull it up and be like, remember when we were talking about it over whiskey? I was onto something.
The memetics. The memes will triumph over everything, and like these contrived constraints of like the number of like the number of minimum number of characters you register, like triples, quads. I'm bullish on these right now, but in general, I think that we're gonna see something crazy play out. And back in 2015, 2016, I was doing activism work. I really wanted to get the attention of somebody I wanted to interview, and so I put some emojis in the email subject line and in the email, and I was on social media using emojis to great effect, and people would get in my DMs and automatically assume I was a woman. My wife would criticize me. What are you doing with all these emojis? This is too many emojis. This is crazy. And so looking back on it, I realized, because I did like sort of an analysis of my like relationship to emojis, they really did come on the scene somewhere around that time more aggressively into the public consciousness around 2014, 15, when the tech started to integrate them into the iPhone keyboard and into all the devices. And at that time, they were almost viewed like pejoratively. They were juvenile, they were childish, they were for kids. Now they seem very much accepted as a part of our business communication as well. So they're more validated. So emojis are interesting. Emojis are particularly interesting, but because the idea of then identifying trends there and then being able to capitalize on that economically or culturally seems like
almost
there's a lot
sounds
of
like you have a big bag of emoji ENS, Novak.
Well, I know that a lot of them are not going to sell, and many of them are listed for less than I registered them for, and that's fine. But certainly, I think it's fun, and I definitely do have a big bag, and it's an embarrassment to me, and it's also sort of a point of pride that I have registered so many silly and obscure emojis.
Well, I mean, listen, you could have wasted $100,000 on grails that nobody wants to buy, or you could have wasted $100,000 on emojis that you can flip all day long for, whatever, and just like double your money 10 times over. And it's hard to say who's the greater fool. But if you made less money, then you're probably the greater fool, right?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, and
long term, it doesn't matter if it's emojis or if it's words, letters and emojis, hieroglyphics. They're all just symbols. You put the right order of letters together, the right spelling, the right spell, then it's a symbol. And it doesn't matter if it's emojis or if it's letters. If you can get somebody to think it, and if you can get somebody to remember it or just wonder about typing it in, it's going to be worth something, right? Taco, 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 trip tacos, taco trips, right? I guess it's trip tacos. Like, that's great. Like, if I was Taco Bell, I would own taco.eth, tacobell.eth, and triptacos.eth.
No, taco. I mean, if you guys remember from way back, if you are advertising geek, I mean, I think Stephen, you might appreciate this from the branding world. But remember like Taco Bell and its infamous marketing campaign with the Chihuahua, taco. Like, I mean, it's just, these things are so memorable, and I think that you can definitely.
But if you have taco something, it's like, I've seen, you can't have three things that don't match unless it really makes sense.
I've seen brands bring back their advertising campaigns from like 10, 20 years ago with a twist, and people love it because it's nostalgia. Like we just love it. But I have like I said, I am a geek for useless information. But emoji was born actually in 1998, you guys. It was I'm not gonna pronounce this, but it was created. The first 180 emoji characters was created for a Japanese mobile web platform. So, which kind of makes sense because I mean, Japanese has a very rich history in lettering and creating like beautiful art out of letters. So, yeah, there you have it.
Something else positive I'll say about the emojis is that emojis, even though there's a lot of letter lovers, those letter lovers that don't like emojis are cross language. So taco, taco, taco speaks to everybody, even if you don't speak English, right? If you even though you eat sushi or you're eating or you're eating curry, whatever your normal local cuisine is, you probably know what a taco is. And so, it's cross-lingual, but those are problems for some people. Other people got other problems. And the SEC is moving to sue Coinbase over asset listings and staking. The company sees retaliation. We could get into this Forbes article and see what Forbes Crypto is saying. They published this pretty quick. We also have this Collins Belton article. But before we get into even that, why don't we go to the horse's mouth, see what Brian Armstrong is saying about this. He says, today, Coinbase received a Wells notice from the SEC focused on staking and asset listings. A Wells notice typically precedes an enforcement action. 2 years ago, the SEC reviewed our business, the Coinbase business, in detail and approved Coinbase to go public. The Coinbase S1 clearly explained that their asset listing process and included 57 references to staking that Coinbase runs a rigorous asset review process and has rejected more than 90% of the assets that have applied to be listed on the platform. So while Coinbase understands that this is all part of the journey to reforming our financial system, they are right on the law. They are confident in the facts. Coinbase is. And Coinbase welcomes the opportunity for Coinbase and by extension the broader crypto community to bring this up before court. Brian says that they are proud to stand up for our customers and the industry in these moments. Going forward, the legal process will provide an open and public forum before an unbiased body where the collective we will be able to make it clear for everyone to see that the SEC simply has not been fair, reasonable, or even demonstrated a seriousness of the purpose when it comes to its engagement on digital assets. In the meantime, Coinbase will continue to do what Coinbase does best, build the most trusted products and services in order to advance their purpose of updating the financial system and creating a more economic freedom in the world.
Do you think this is the beginning when where we're going to see a tremendous crackdown on exchanges?
We've already started. I mean, if you go check out Jake from Coin Center, who's like this crypto lawyer, and if you also look at what GOP Majority Whip Tom Emmer, I think his name is, what he said that the CFTC is weaponizing their regulatory power in order to attack and destroy crypto. It's I would say pretty much proven that Silicon Valley Bank and Silver Bank were both gone after because they were crypto companies to cut off the ability for companies to have connections to banks to start attacking crypto companies for their on-ramps and off-ramps. I actually heard on the Twitter Spaces today that Kraken turned off deposits or withdrawals or something from somewhere. I don't know if someone can fact check that real quick. But yeah, we are in the and then they fight you stage. They know the system is failing. The system is failing. It's already started to fail. They essentially nationalize. The four top banks in America are already nationalized. They're too big to fail. Pretty much 100% deposits guaranteed. And they're choosing which banks to kill and which banks to save. And if 100% of the deposits are going to be secured, which is impossible, but then all those banks are essentially nationalized. Because what's the point of those banks making risks, or existing in the first place if they're just like, meaningless conduits of pretending that everything is okay. When the fact of the matter is that the government says, hey, we can just print an unlimited amount of money and we'll just make sure that everybody has enough money because we could just print it. And this obviously doesn't make sense. They have gold on lockdown, so they can manipulate gold, or they could just put bags of rocks like they did with the nickel. But the Bitcoin, they can't control. And they know they can't stop it. They know it's decentralized enough that the upper class, right, of our society, people might not like hearing that, but we do have classes in our society. And the upper class of our society wants these off-ramps, will demand these off-ramps. People who work in the government and their families will want these off-ramps, will demand these off-ramps. And it's somewhere between very scary and very exciting.
Yeah, on the exciting part, because it certainly is, I think, short and midterm scary. But I'll share a sentiment that many have, and that is that Coinbase and the leadership of Brian Armstrong are some of the best people to be fighting this. I don't think there's any other exchange, any other provider that is in a better position to do it. And they have a track record. They have been consistent. And, I'm a fan of Brian Armstrong because of his consistency over the years in campaigning for crypto in the US. It's very easy to move offshore, but he stuck around and followed every process to a T. Has a reputation of trying to do the right thing and being mishandled, or whatever the appropriate word would be. So this is a great group to fight it, and I hope they get the support across industry, across all exchanges, and it is that crackdown that you describe. I'm glad they're the ones fighting it, and I hope that at the end of it all, it is what we're looking for, and I hope Coinbase is rewarded for it. I hope they are rewarded for it in the sense that awarded the right result, but I hope they are rewarded and we see them for what they have done, because we like to, poo-poo them, but they're doing a great thing. It's a tough slog, scary times. Future is bright with them leading this. That's my take.
If you listen to Kathy Wood, they're going to be rewarded handsomely. The long-term arc of ARK Investments says that Coinbase is one of the best companies in the world, according to their thesis. Coinbase, Tesla, Bitcoin, right? Bunch of biotech stuff. Yeah, so this is so here's Paul. Paul's the chief legal officer at Coinbase. After years of asking for reasonable crypto rules, he says that they're disappointed the SEC is considering courts over constructive dialogue. But if courts are required, so be it. We'll defend the rule of law. Over the past 9 months, Coinbase has met with the SEC more than 30 times, sharing details of their business to build a path to registration. During that time, the SEC hasn't given basically zero feedback on what to change or how to register. Instead, today, Coinbase received the Wells notice. When Coinbase filed to go public in 2021, their S1 described their business in detail, just as Brian Armstrong was saying, including their 57 references to staking, their listing process. The SEC approved them to go public, knowing all those details. Now, they've changed their mind on what is allowed. In 2018, they acquired two, not one, but two broker-dealer licenses in an effort to become regulated by the SEC. Those licenses are currently dormant, and they've been unable to activate them for the SEC with the digital asset securities. And last July, Coinbase filed a petition with the SEC, called for more clarity, haven't received a response to their petition. And so for comparison, over the many years, they've been able to successfully become a licensed and regulated crypto business in a number of other jurisdictions around the world. We're talking Singapore, Ireland, Australia, Germany, millions and millions of people, governments, areas that are taking advantage of the economic benefit, the social benefit, the national security of that economic activity. Paul goes on to say that they've also been able to successfully become regulated by another U.S. federal regulator, obtaining their DCM and DCO license from the CFTC, and many U.S. state regulators. But the SEC remains the sole outlier here. Paul says that Coinbase does not list securities. Of the thousands plus crypto assets Coinbase has reviewed over the years, only roughly 240 of those have met their standards to list on their platform. Those 240 includes ENS DAO governance token, not a security, based on their analysis. We believe a large number of crypto securities also exist and should be available to register and trade on SEC-registered brokers and exchanges, a point they've made repeatedly in their discussions. That's a whole other discussion, but basically they're trying to play fair in the law, right? The truth is that today there's no clear rule book for what the SEC says on crypto, and the efforts to engage with the SEC is just met with silence and enforcement action. They have not followed good faith rulemaking with the industry as required under the APA. So at times the SEC and the CFTC don't agree with the definitions of a commodity or a security. They've been fighting about that for years and years and years. For instance, the CFTC chair has said that Ethereum was a commodity, while the SEC chair has hinted that Ethereum might be a security. Bitcoin maximalists would love for Ethereum to be a security. But really what this comes down to is open digital technology, and for everyone to have fair and equal access, not for governments to pick winners in cryptocurrency. Anyway, I digress. Paul goes on to say that even when giving Coinbase their Wells notice, the SEC wouldn't list specific assets that were giving them concern, or what specific arguments that Coinbase made on staking that were wrong. Instead, they're simply told to consider the chair's generic statements, which is totally ambiguous. So it's hard to throw the rule book at an entire economic center when there is no rule book, and the people responsible for the rule book can't even agree themselves on what the rule book should say. This guy's pretty good. He should be a lawyer. So what happens next is that this shit goes to court. That's an exact quote. Oh, wait, no, it's not. And to get some clarity for the industry in the U.S., ironically, establishing some case law may be our best shot at getting the regulatory clarity that the industry deserves. And then he has some cool links and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think this is like really serious. And I'm just proud that people are so fed up that they're not going to be dealing with this anymore, because what are they going to do? Just like let their business suffer?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, in many ways, this is like the beginning of the big takedown. And in some ways,
Beginning of the beginning.
The beginning of the beginning, because obviously is, you can control something that can be controlled. I mean, that's, that's the big piece in it. But I think that it took so long because, I don't want to say they wanted to get educated, but I think there was a curiosity as to where this is going to go. Like, you can't just say, oh, this is like where this movement is going to go.
I don't think that's it.
You don't think so?
No, I think what I think is this. Like, what it really comes down to is this. If they said Bitcoin was legal, everybody would buy it and Bitcoin would go to the moon. And at the same time, the whole system would collapse quicker.
Yeah, but
if
then
they
at the
said-
same
real quick,
time,
real
when
quick, if they said Bitcoin is illegal, if they did the opposite and said Bitcoin is illegal, then crypto would moon,
yeah,
and the exact same thing would happen. So the exact same
exactly.
thing happens if they said it's legal. The exact same thing will happen if they say it's
Yeah.
illegal. And so the playbook has been to just, kind of like
Say nothing.
control it, to control the situation, to control the contagion as much as possible for as long as possible. And now that not the crypto contagion, but the financial banking contagion is at such an extreme, now they simply have to take more extreme action because they're trying, Bitcoin for them is fire, and they're trying not to let fire in. Otherwise, they would have stopped before. They've always hated this. They've always known this. It's like there's no other currency is allowed to exist in the world. They don't want crypto to exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's antithesis to the dollar. It's the exact, everything about it is the exact opposite, right? Like dollars, they print infinite, crypto is scarce. Dollars are private, crypto is public, right? It's like dollars are restrictive, Bitcoin and crypto is completely open. It's just the exact opposite. That's why they don't like anything about it.
I just, I feel that when it comes to crypto, it's different, and it's in many ways it's very, very unique because dollar is just it's just dollar. It's a currency. Like, it's not a technology. Like, nobody's building. It doesn't have its own language. Like, it's just it's completely different. But I think that when we look at cryptocurrency, especially with Ethereum, Bitcoin was, diehard developers are still building on it. Like, there are people that are just like, and we've just seen it, right? We've seen the huge revival, and I think we're going to see those over and over and over again. But it definitely, it's much more difficult. Ethereum, it's this is where we see the tremendous building. But even with, if we go into some of the other cryptocurrencies, there's always been it's just more than just currency. It's more than just money. It's like I always say, money aside, like, yes, Bitcoin is pumping, and yes, cryptocurrency is pumping, and in the end, it's not really about the money. Like, I don't think it's going to be the cryptocurrency. I think it's going to be the technology that's going to take over the world, and so, but in many ways, like, we haven't
crypto controls the technology.
Well, we haven't, but we haven't seen anything like this. Like, it's always been, if you look at it, right, programming is its own separate language, and so it's controlled by a completely different set of rules. And although, yes, like at some point, as you build businesses and you have products, it exchanges with currency, but it's not intimately tied with it. Like, it's you literally can build a project and then drop everybody currency. Like, that has never, there isn't like a Tesla currency. There isn't Amazon currency. There's stocks, yes, but it's different. It's completely different. And so, and I'm going to say it over and over again, like, we don't really know yet. Like, we haven't even imagined where this is going to go. Like, we were playing with the technology right now, trying to figure out like what it's going to become. But I don't think that we even have seen or even had glimpses of where it's actually going to go. And I think that it is because of that intimate uniqueness of it being both the technology, but I think, excuse me, I think it's the technology that drives it. I personally think, like, yes, we all want to have, free money dropped for interacting with this chain or that chain. But I think in the end, it is going to be the technology that is going to control the price of that cryptocurrency that's tied to the technology.
And so I would just one thing that I really wanted to push back on all that would be that U.S. dollars are a technology, right? U.S. money is a technology, and it might be old technology compared to Bitcoin, but it is a technology, and money and currency is used for a lot of different things, and currencies compete with each other, and we are. Like you guys probably saw that chart, right? Where it's like, I don't know what it was. It was like the British pound was the currency of the world for a couple, like 150 years. And the Spanish dollar was the currency of the world for 150 years. And the US dollar was the currency of the world for like 150 years. And we've been able to postpone it a little bit more between what we did in 1973 and again, what we did in 2008. But we're basically, what according to Balaji, what we're saying, he's saying we're at that, World War II German mark moment, where if Bitcoin goes up 10x, that's $300,000. A 10x jump is $300,000. If the US dollar falls 70% in value, right? And so if Bitcoin 10x is to 30,000, or the 10x and goes to 300,000, and the US dollar falls 70%, that means one Bitcoin is worth $1 million. So if Bitcoin 10x is the same time that the dollar falls, and China's President Xi and Vladimir Putin just got done talking. Putin said that they're going to start using the yuan, the petrol yuan, and the renminbi for trade between oil, between Russia and China and countries in the Far East, Africa, and even Latin American Caribbean. And so that we're on a precipice of a digital petrol yuan, and that's not competing with the US dollar. That's going to be competing with Bitcoin. So it is this new technology. There are all these new things. The dollar is going to want to protect itself from two enemies at the same time. The China, the renminbi yuan, and then also the Bitcoin. And it's not a nicety. You know what I mean? When someone comes and takes over your land and, takes your business, and they put a shoe store next to your shoe store, and they're selling more shoes, and your kid can't go on their, ski trip or have new clothes, whatever cliche thing you want to throw at, like that's what's happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's coming in and it's taking over all the economic power of the banks, all the economic power of, the investment level financiers, and then it's taking over all the power of the central bank, which therefore takes over all the power of the government. And because every central bank is connected with every other central bank, especially after 2008, this is just a really, really bad situation for all those existing power systems. And so then you have major corporations that are on top of those power systems. And so, people don't really realize it, and this isn't 100% true because that's a whole other topic, but stocks are fake money because stocks no longer equal one share of the company. It used to be people, in your brain, you probably think that one share of stock equals one share of the company, but that's not true. One share of stocks equals 0.0001 penny. And it's just like a representation of it. But nevertheless, it's like when a company has stock, their stock is a form of money, just like a governance token is a form of money, right? But those companies like Apple, right? Apple has money in terms of what their stock market share is, but Apple also has money because of the assets of the actual shit that they own. But Apple also has money because they own dollars, they own British pounds, they own, all different types of dollars, right? Because they got to hold cash. And I'm sure Apple owns a pretty significant amount of Bitcoin too. They must own some Bitcoin. but it's just hedging risk. And all of these are technologies, and these technologies are competing, and competition is not pretty.
I was listening to this podcast, a little bit off the topic, but relevant. And there is this huge surge of people, and we have seen it, obviously, people relocating and leaving the cities post-COVID, but not just relocating and leaving big cities, but there is this huge surge of people moving into a small mountain towns. And so this person was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they have seen a huge surge of people. Like the real estate market is booming in those places because
it's not cheap.
No, that's like, I mean, Jackson Hole is like one of the most expensive places to live. It's a millionaire city, but city town. That's actually
a billionaire city. There's millionaires that are getting basically
priced out.
Millionaires that are too poor to live there.
Yeah, but it's very interesting because I always say, that gives it gives a really good view as to, like, we always laugh, right, at people who are preppers and they're preparing for this forever. But if you are in a smaller community that is closer to resources, you are going to be able to thrive. And I mean, there has been research like that 100%, that during the Great Depression, the people who struggled the most were the people in big cities, because there aren't resources. You can't grow your own food. And so you are so much more dependent on the government. If you live outside and you have land and you can grow / hunt for your own food, you have access to resources. And so it's very, very interesting, because I always like to equate things. Like, we learn from history, and like, I don't know if this is energetically kind of how it goes, because we see the spiral in nature, and so in nature and in math, and so reality could have like a cyclical spiral like energy, and that's just unavoidable. Or we're just not very smart as human. We like to fall on our face repeatedly and not learn that, like, maybe I'll stop falling on my face. But history repeats itself, like, over and over and over and over and over again. Like, this is not new. This has been happening since the ancient times. Like, the governments and what's wrong with that?
Lots. Like, there is no there's no way to really say it. Like, I mean, I always talk about, you should fall forward into mistakes, and if you're not learning from them, you're just repeating them. But the truth is, we're all just really dumb. I think at this stage of the game, like, we're evolutionarily just damning ourselves, unfortunately. But hey, here he is to save us from ourselves, right?
Yeah.
The hope that we needed. Evan 15, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys? What's going on?
You just got here to lift our spirits. We've been talking about how inevitably dumb humankind has really gotten. So this is the turning point in the show.
Yeah, and I wish that you were here when we were discussing the evolution of language and the raw emojis.
It was so good, Evan. I can't believe you missed it. It's so sad.
Because you would totally have like the inside of the much younger generation that grew up with cell phones and technology. And
actually, Evan is very intelligent and obviously very well educated. And so,
whoa! Just because we think he's young doesn't mean we didn't think he was intelligent.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply like a incongruency there.
Like, actually.
But Evan he gives, what I was meaning to say was that he gives me hope for the future, because I've been sort of disillusioned, with like the younger generations. I've been increasingly like, oh, who's going to run all these nuclear facilities? How are we going to get medical care when we're old? And then I realized, Evan's a good. He's a good harbinger for something better. He's an indicator that there are competent youth.
He's awesome human. as I would like to say.
I feel like this is a great example of how you were just saying earlier that just because he's young doesn't mean he's not smart. I'm looking at 184. I'm like, just because he has a beard doesn't mean he's wise.
It doesn't.
But all four of you, I mean, Novak's isn't on camera, but all four of you have beards. So I want to know whether it's like laziness or
It doesn't correlate to like length, and wisdom doesn't correlate there either.
Yeah, I have a great story about
I have a beard.
Gary.
My wife made me do it when I got married, and then then it just hasn't gone away. So you can blame her if you don't like it.
I can literally show you the photos. I met Gary, and he was, working at these like,
I look younger than
startups.
15 does right now.
Yeah, like hot startups in San Francisco. And like, having these crazy, like, managing these crazy ad spends that are just like, how much are these people spending on ads? And he literally looked like we would go out and I'm like, wow, like people are going to start calling me a grave robber. And, we're the same age. Like I'm like 2 or 3 years older, I think, than Gary. But he just looked so young. And then you would see him and he would like speak really, really wisely. But then like people would never take him seriously because he looked like he was 12. And I was like, I got a solution for you. And it's like he grew the beard and it like came in like gray already. And I'm telling you, it was a game changer. All of a sudden, everybody's like, wow, like he is very smart. And I'm like, he was always fucking smart.
So the beard
He
does
just didn't take him serious. Yeah, literally. I've like, yeah. So that was.
I feel like Evan's gonna show up wearing like a fake beard on the next one. He's gonna have like a clip-on beard,
like a tablet
what
wizard's beard.
the rest of you guys? Steve, what's your
augmented reality.
Mine is twofold. I have mine for two different reasons. One, very similar to Gary. Without it, I can't get served in bars. Like straight away, I may actually look younger than Evan without my beard. And the other is because I hate not having like any degree of contour between like my neck and my face in photos. So I just like to be able to say, yeah, no, this is where it ends and this is where this begins. So. Has nothing to do with wisdom or to show maturity. Nothing like that. No, nothing. So like
listen,
positive.
It's an extra benefit that you get regardless. It's not about the wisdom, but it comes with.
Wow, 184.
I was born this way. I came out with this. My reason's a little bit more sinister. So my wife is an absolute hottie. She's a stunner. And I got to keep her on her toes. So every now and then I shave my beard down to nothing and I make her look old. That's really it. Just to keep her on her toes.
Dude, you really thought that through. Like, that's a strategy. I'm just out here. I'm laziness. I guess I'm the quintessential laziness. And my wife complains bitterly the whole time. She's like, do something about this ever since COVID. And I'm like, it changed me, woman. You don't understand. I'll have a beard for the rest of my days. No, I'm just kidding. I grew out my beard before COVID even, but I really had the opportunity to test it and just say, how far can I go? And since then I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is fun. Like, I don't want to go back. And I haven't seen my face for like years now. It's been years.
That's really cool. Well,
you're like, sounds like you got some issues there.
Grow. Like, I wish it grew, but it doesn't grow. So I grow my hair instead.
Yeah, we accept all kinds here. It takes all types to make a world.
Yeah. I briefly gave Gary, I made him an appointment before our wedding, and I briefly gave him a choice. But it really wasn't a choice. It was a test. Like, you can shave it if you want.
I think I'm a fucking rookie.
I mean,
My kids complain about my beard too, even. They're like, Dad, it's so scratchy. So, I mean, I'm thinking about doing the shave, but I'm serious. I've got committed to it now. It's a part of my persona. It's part of my brain.
You buy beard oil? If you're committed to it, if it's scratchy, you got to get some beard oil. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, my wife and I we just had a conversation about that because it started out where she was like, if you're going to have this beard, you at least got to take proper care of it, trim it and groom it, get some balms, get some oils. I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it, fine. And then I did it, and then I ran out of those oils, and now I'm like, I need them. I got hooked on them. I'm like, re-up my oils, get my balms.
Yeah, this is where, setting up like all my supplements for like both of us, like it just kind of comes, like I don't have to think about it. Just like set it up and it just like ships whatever it needs to ship every month. Otherwise I'll be like, it's like, where's my supplements? I'm like, I don't know. Where are they?
So to interestingly segue from this older to younger argument that we've continued to go on about now, I'm curious what you guys think of the recent rumor mill, because we have another example of going from older to younger with apparently Gisele Bündchen moving on from Tom Brady to Vitalik Buterin. Is that like something that you guys are at all following? Because I find myself absolutely glued to Twitter just trying to find out the next details.
Likeliness that it's true. I mean, have we confirmed that she was definitely, it's not like in Photoshop, she was definitely with Vitalik, like holding hands intimately, for sure?
Apparently. That's what, what we've heard.
Was she?
I think
Hey.
I
I
saw
also seen
that
the
it was from a
meme photos
site.
going around. She said, Brady's got a big arm, but Vitalik's a bigger man in general.
Ouch. Shit women do. Don't do that.
Evan, what were you about to say about it?
Oh, so I don't know if this is true, but I did see someone under like one of the comments of one of those posts saying that it was from like an article that was like an Onions basically type page. So I don't know if it's true. I really hope. I mean, that'd be fucking like awesome for Ethereum. Like imagine saying like Ethereum's main legend stole fucking Tom Brady's chick. Like that would be a great, but I don't know. Vitalik doesn't seem like he could pull a chick like that.
Are you fucking kidding me? Vitalik is like after everything she went through with SBF, Vitalik is like the exact opposite of that. Like SBF plus Tom Brady, and you take like the opposite. That's Vitalik. That's exactly what you want.
So a fit dummy that put all his money into a scam exchange versus an intelligent something.
Yeah. Just a guy that has his head on his shoulder. Someone who's actually running the world, not just like paying for high-end publicity and access.
Well, I mean,
Hold on.
he does own his name.eth, so that's a flex, is it not? We've all got a shot, right?
The GOAT, our
You're
friend,
trying, yeah, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I don't know Gary.eth.
our friend, the GOAT,
We'll get
Fireball,
there.
has Giselle.eth, and he's very interested to make a deal right now. I think he listed it for like 300 Ethereum. But it sounds interesting. This seems like an attack vector. This is a vulnerability. This is a potential exploit for Ethereum in general, because Giselle, apparently, my wife just told me, is into some supernatural meddling, some witchcraft. So what if Giselle's out here tampering with our guy, to destabilize the Ethereum ecosystem?
I would say that it's probably a great reason to not direct her first to Giselle.eth, but instead to Alter.eth. And I happen to know the owner, so
100%. I agree.
I would think that if she's into witchcraft, then she'd be doing some magic spells, and that's why she got rid of SBF and Brady, and now she's with Vitalik because the magic spells are working.
Oh, did you guys hear this business about NFTLA? What they did at the conference and all the men's restrooms?
No.
This was brilliant. They apparently put like targets in the urinals that were SBF's face.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've seen that before, but to do STF, that's on par right there. That's culture.
Very good. That's very good.
It makes me sit here and be like, I can't fucking wait till NFT NYC. There's going to be so much more.
It's like never-ending culture, right? It's never-ending culture. We have forever to do everything, right? It's just, how do you describe? Like I always go back to like Web 2. And so like imagine, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess like go back to like you could go back to Craigslist And Craigslist, like, so we didn't have MySpace, no eBay, just a website where you can post you have a dresser for sale or you're looking for sex. One of the two. There's the two buttons on Craigslist.
No, you could also find pets. I'm
That's a
pretty
joke.
sure you can find pets.
All right, just
Yeah,
pop quiz.
The pets category was very different in my area, so I'm not sure that.
But could you
Craigslist stories.
imagine before
Craigslist used to
PayPal,
be so awesome, you guys.
it was pretty cool. But there's also the Craigslist killer. Like back in like the 2000s, early 2000s, late 90s, there was a Craigslist killer in New York City, Long Island, was killing all the chicks from.
Bro, that was eBay disinformation. That was fun.
It was real.
I'm just kidding. No, I was
It was
terrified.
really a
actually.
dude, and it was like a rich dude in Long Island that was dropping bodies in like the beaches.
Yeah, because before it's like it took you a long time if you were a serial killer to stalk someone, but like to find right. But online you could. It's just like sort of like putting
You
in
can
the
find
order
your
and
type very quick.
there you have it. It just like shows up at your doorstep. Yeah, I remember because I lived in New York City during that time. It was very scary.
I saw in every apartment I ever lived in as a single dude, like using
100%.
I probably had 30 different strangers live in my house because they responded to a Craigslist ad. It's crazy. And then other people were being murdered. I mean,
that
like
was very rare, right? But that's what got all the news. Because back then, like the news was to create sensationalism, and there was this new technology that some people were using, and they were the others. And because it was brand new, this is what happened. And there's sort of it's interesting because from a media perspective, there's sort of like murders that happen. There's probably like so many murders that happen in my city every day or every week. And it's like which ones get talked about and which ones don't get talked about and why they get talked about. It's because they're looking for clicks and they're looking for like a story and a narrative that's going to get views. And so, yeah, the Craigslist killer was perfect. There's this crazy internet. Your kids are playing Nintendo, not going to school. Your husband's looking up porn. I don't know. Like, there's anarchists. I'm not sure, but
you could definitely find a neighborhood anarchists and Craigslist.
But the point is this: is that back then you're like I don't get it. Like, yeah, we got a computer. I use it for games and like a spreadsheet for accounting. I just don't understand what the internet. People kept on saying, I don't understand what the internet's for. I don't know what people are going to use it. I don't use the internet. I'm never going to use the internet. Like, you're not going to use it unless you play games or you do like finance. I
want to bring and that's actually a really, really, really good comeback of what we're talking about before. They were still so early that a lot of what this technology is going to become, like, we haven't yet imagined. And in some ways, I think that the evolution is going to be quicker because in some ways we have a technological template. Like the .com had created some kind of a template, so people are used to. I think that what it did, it got people not just used to technology, but dependent on technology. And so because we have seen these drastic growth in anything, I mean, even like what people are using from like cell phone to cell phone and so on and so forth, I think that had primed everything to evolve much, much quicker. But in the same time, and nevertheless, it took very long time to form the internet that we know today. And we kind of go back and we laugh about these things because, I mean, was Craigslist awesome? Yeah, it allowed us to, anything from like find apartments to find pets to get laid, and for some people to get murdered, which, that sucks. I'm so very sorry. That was a bad joke. But in the same time, I think that it really wasn't until like years in that we started to see what it is right now. And one of the biggest things of what it has done, it like centralized. And so it is, I mean, think about it. It is, if you step outside of Web3, because we are in Web3, I think we are inundated with innovation. But if you for a second step out of it, it's been a long time since something dropped and it kind of like takes over. And it's not that there isn't innovation in .com, is that it gets swallowed up really quickly. Clubhouse was like one of the great examples, right? It literally took over everyone by the storm because it took us from this place where you could hide behind pictures, behind words, and nobody really knew who you were. There was like no credibility. And therefore, and in the same time, there was no connection. And then all of a sudden Clubhouse happened. And I mean, people just flocked to it because you could connect to so many people without that piece of like, okay, we're going to get in front of the camera and now I have to like invite you into my home and all of those pieces. But you can still have intimacy of voice. And I mean, now it's like, what's Clubhouse? Like, anybody still go on Clubhouse? Like, nobody goes on. Yeah, exactly. But Twitter did not have this technology before. Like,
Some people
before
still go on
Clubhouse.
So very few people.
Yes.
Very few. Still
Yeah, but I mean, I remember because I lost my husband for
Twitter
like a
crushed
year. Like, literally, Gary was in Clubhouse from like the morning till the night. These crazy rooms and
pre
me
ENS
too.
airdrop. I onboarded so many people in those early
I
days.
know.
I hope
Yeah.
they forget about me just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like he was like in rooms with like Grant Cardone and these people that I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I mean, he literally was like in rooms with like Paris Hilton, like on stage, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, but that's what it provided.
We did rare
this
pizzas.
Incredible thing.
We did
Yeah,
rare pizzas
I remember
in a
rare
pizza
pizzas.
NFT project because
in
of
a
Clubhouse.
club. Yeah,
I
Gary's
really-
like screaming.
I really wish that I had listened to my like friends and actually gotten a rare pizza back then, because I was there for it. I remember all of it.
You
and,
know,
like,
you can get a rare
You
pizza.
can still get a rare
oh,
pizza.
I know. I just
They haven't rinsed it out.
I don't really want to now. It's kind of like it was in the past, and like I wanted the
Yeah.
early mint. But I remember the early days of Clubhouse, and like straight away, it what like we referred to crypto as like the wild west of digital assets and all this shit. Like
100%.
that was the wild west of social audio, and
Yeah.
that advent was such a cool time to be a part of it. And it was even cooler that like you had to sit there and be like, oh yeah, no, I got an invite code from a friend, and like I'm in the cool crowd. It's like pre 10 million users and all this shit.
Yeah.
It was so stupid. Like, but like looking back, we were so stupid, but it was such a good time.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
And it was innovative at the time too, because like it allowed people to create all these new ideas for what spaces could be. Right.
Yeah.
That's why I've tried to adapt that into the crypto space, because I think back on all those different like live sessions, and people were being creative about what it was they were doing there. There were improv spaces that you would have never guessed. There were joke telling spaces. There were sing instead of talking spaces. Like it was insane. It was absolutely insane, but it was a great time.
Yeah.
That's what, honest to God, Twitter spaces can be if you are willing to think a little bit outside the box.
I like got into one of like the deepest rabbit holes of personal growth, aka human design, through a Clubhouse space. Like I just ended up on the space, and like I knew about it for a long time. I just never dove in. I was like, yeah, there's that system and it's very complicated. And then it's like, I was on the space and this woman like broke it down and I was like, holy shit, I just got like an operating manual to like the weirdos that are like me. Like I felt like my entire life made sense. It was so crazy. And yeah, it was like, I couldn't tell you how. I just ended up in a Clubhouse space and yeah. I mean, I think it was like beautiful and glorious, but that's what I mean. That was like, so I don't want to say that it doesn't happen, but it was, it is huge sort of innovation. And I think that everything that we're seeing on spaces today has come out of those days of Clubhouse. but the way that the technology companies, giants, function right now is that anytime there is something good, they just absorb it. They just like, oh, that's a really good idea, and they've tested it, and now it's mine, and they just take it and they either run it as their thing. But the biggest thing is like they don't invent on it. If that stayed in the hands of those original founders, they would have continued, not all of them, but I believe a lot of them would continue with the innovation piece. And so we would have seen some really, really amazing things. And so my biggest hope is that we can do that with crypto, because we have a long runway in some ways to run under the radar. Like, I mean, are they paying attention? Yeah, they're absolutely, like Facebook is absolutely paying attention. But I think that it is so, they haven't really built a bridge, because it isn't necessarily something that bridges easily with their users. And so we have this long path to invent some really cool shit. And I hope that we will, before that big adoption happens and we start seeing the consolidation of ideas into these big companies. And that's like, I mean, you know, that's like death of innovation, really.
Well, we have this new bull market coming up. I know, I'm telling you, I wasn't really expecting it. I was like, maybe some 2023. But really, I was thinking 2024.
I said 2025. I've been like very loud about it. People are going to like shove it down my throat. They're going to find the tweets.
184.
They're going to be like, this is what you said.
Were you here when we were talking about Tim Draper? You must have been. And Tim Draper was saying, like, we were talking last year, at the end of last year in December or whatever, we were going over a Tim Draper article where he was reaffirming his by July 1st, essentially, 2023, Bitcoin is going to be $250,000. And he was all nonchalant in Q4 2022. Tim Draper was all like, you know, I mean, this isn't the question I wanted to answer, but if you're asking this, yeah, and all nonchalantly, yeah, I think Bitcoin is going to be 10x in 6 months, you know. And now we have Balaji saying the exact same thing, that Bitcoin is going to be 10x in 3 months, a little bit sooner. And yeah, so shit's on fire.
I find the Tim Draper thing really interesting, because I've heard him talking that exact price point at that exact date for 3 or 4 years now at a minimum. So that's really impressive. I know Balaji's like a genius and I love him, but like the fact that you're saying like 250 2023 like years ago, I don't know, that's pretty cool. I mean, whether he hits it or not, I think he's on the right like track of like, yes, like people are going to start caring about this much more. I think all these bank runs and all just like, I think people are going to really wake up, and I think they're starting to. I think anyone in the US doesn't realize as much as the rest of the world. And I think we're a little sheltered, and I think it's going to start being different. And so as much as I don't wish it to be that way, I think it's good that we're here. And I think we're definitely, I think we're on the cusp of people starting to get it.
Yeah. We're not sheltered. We're restricted.
Yeah.
I'm
actually starting to get the feeling that the more we see government, especially people like Elizabeth Warren and Gensler and all the other friends of ours, sorry, I was having a mini stroke. The more we hear them using crypto as a scapegoat and trying to blame crypto for everything that's going on right now, the more I start to think that they're actually going to be the reason why it actually does end up taking off and getting even bigger faster. Because ultimately, like, they're going to keep poking that bear until that bear actually like rips it to death. You know, it is almost at that point where, like, because of the amount of Bitcoin that's in circulation, because it's global and it's distributed, that alone could actually just, like, it's too big to kill. That sort of logic. So I don't know. I'm starting to get that type of feeling from how they're trying to be so aggressive against it, because I think almost undoubtedly they fear it.
Yeah, I think they know that they're screwed, that they were way out of their realm of just like knowing that they let it get way too crazy. The amount of liquidity compared to the amount that, you know, people are going to want back. I think they know it's bad. And that's why a lot of people are saying, look, they're going to print it and they're just going to try to like, you know, put propaganda and just brainwash us in the meantime. They're just going to try to keep delaying. No, money's here until they can actually print away. And I think that's why they know that like they're going to just try completely like saying, no, Bitcoin's bad. Because they know if people start to go there and you start to get like, oh, you know, this celebrity said, you know, Mark Cuban's like, yo, I just put 10% of my net worth on Bitcoin. You know, that starts to trend. I think they realize how, like you said, it could be a bear that real quick goes from not caring to being on top of you. So I think they're trying to like almost just like put it down and like kill it. Like they don't even like, I don't think they want it even to exist. I mean, honestly, like I think I don't know where the CBDC thing goes into play, but Bitcoin as a whole, I think they're going to do everything possible to say hard cap supply no more, or at least wait till they can print money away and buy up the Bitcoin first, because they don't want it to be, oh, we lose the monetary premium. Like either they're going to own the monetary premium asset that has monetary premium, or they're going to want to own it, you know, themselves. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see the fight, because you're right. I think there's going to have to be a fight almost at this point in time, because it doesn't seem like they're backing down. I think people are going to have to stand up at some point. So it'll be interesting.
Very, very interesting. Yeah. And yeah, Balaji's a genius, but he's basically saying shit right now that's totally obvious, right? Someone like me, he's like, hey, banks are failing. There's going to be hyperinflation. The shit's going to hit the fan faster than anyone realizes. Once, you know, the balloon starts ripping, the balloon kind of rips very quickly once the pin actually hits it. And yeah, he's saying get off zero because you're not going to be able to easily do that later. I mean, it's all, you know, the crash of Credit Suisse. I mean, that is unfathomable 2 weeks ago, a month ago, last year. You know what I mean? Like things are happening now that I've been saying since 2016, 2017, where people were like, yeah, you know, or maybe someday, you know what I mean? Or no. Or they were just saying, dude, if that happened, it'd be the end of the world. You'd have bigger problems. And well, all of that is actually happening now. The nickel is full of fake rocks. The bank is full of fake loans and derivatives. Nobody has any money. Did you guys see the headline from The Economist today? That the U.S. banking system is missing trillions or billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Did you see that? Unbelievable headline. Oh yeah, just casually speaking, yeah, the banks are. Oh yeah, there might be some bad things happening, but maybe not. But either way, the banking system might be missing billions and billions or trillions of dollars. But don't buy Bitcoin.
Meanwhile, at the FOMC meeting, right? Meanwhile, at the FOMC meeting, you've got Jerome saying, "Oh yeah, the banks are fine.
Everything's fine."
Can we go back to the video from France? Like,
yeah,
good lord.
All right.
Yeah, somebody make that into t-shirts. That's I think that's where we are.
That is where we are. Yep.
Yep, everything's fine.
Oh.
So
everything's fine.
Can I pose a quick question for the back 15 minutes of the show?
What do you got?
There was an interesting piece that was dropped on NFT now. I want to say it was definitely within the last week or so. Actually, no, it was probably yesterday. Just time moves differently here. You all know this by now. But there was an interesting hit. It wasn't a hit piece, but it was a really hard hitting piece. That's where I was trying to go. The whiskey's taking over. NFT now put it out. It asked the question, if Web3 is the future, how can we onboard the masses via email.
Yep.
So I'm curious what you guys think about this idea of onboarding the masses via email. And because there's a lot of people out there that think that email may be the right way to start thinking about like sending NFTs and gaining, like trying to make it a lot easier that way. Do you guys have anything, I guess, that would counter that point? Or like, should we even be trying to onboard people to Web3 via email?
As a digital marketer, my immediate, without thinking about it, response is yes. Email marketing is like, if you're ranking for a word in Google and there's a lot of people searching for it, think of it like water. That's a lot of people that are coming to your website because you're ranking for this word that a lot of people are searching for. Pay-per-click is the same thing. You can pay for a bunch, have a big pay-per-click budget and get a lot of people to your website, right? With email, you're limited by the list, the email list that you have. But if you were to assume that you can have an equal email list to the amount of organic traffic and the amount of paid traffic, the email pound for pound is the absolute best. The reason people don't kind of focus on email is because you don't have a lot of emails. You start with not a lot of emails, and then you got to grow to having a lot of emails. But for whatever email list you have, it doesn't matter if it's 100 or 1,000 or 100,000, you're going to get your best conversions out of that list, assuming you haven't completely fucked yourself and burnt the list.
Well, it's like an intimate
email would be
conversation. You have an opportunity to speak directly to people that are already interested. Like if they are on your email list, they either had opt-in or they have, gotten there through some
They
form
either
of
care about your
personal
brand or they
invitation.
care about the topic. Is
Yeah.
one of the two.
And would it be fair to say, with an email list, you also own that list, versus if you're on a platform, that's not the case. So would you rather 1 million followers or 10 million followers on Instagram, as an example, or would you rather 100,000 email? And depending on the business model, the better decision is the email, if it's that organically generated list rather than one you bought.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
Still,
pound for pound,
100%.
email is the best pound for pound. If you
I mean,
want to
I
make
say
money,
it. Yeah, we say it to all of our clients, and
It's
having gone through that process of, before the Facebook business pages and before the monetization of traffic on Facebook, where now it's like you have to pay for visibility if you're a business. It's set up that way. But before that, you had infinite visibility. Like the algorithm was as such that everybody saw you. And I mean, we literally saw multi-million-dollar businesses crumble overnight because they changed the algorithm. I mean, to say that people cried is like an understatement. People were ruined overnight because they never captured all of those people. Like they were just like passerby,
right.
and they never had a way to reach to them directly.
Not just the organic, also the paid, because the paid was like 5 cents. You know what I mean? It's like the same thing with like Google ads used to be 5 cents. I mean, that's one of the reasons Gary Vee got rich early, is because he was paying for 5-cent ads that nowadays cost him $10. The same shit he pays $10 or more. I mean, he has clicks he pays more than $10 for, but they used to cost him 1 penny or 5 cents. And then Facebook, Google went up, and then Facebook was new, and like new shit. Like it's an arbitrage because it's cheaper and you can get those eyeballs. But yeah, pound for pound, email is always the best. Second to email is going to be organic, Google organic traffic. And then it kind of varies between, variables, if it's going to be pay-per-click or social or organic social or paid social or JV marketing or whatever. But,
I personally think
the theory with what's that?
I said I personally think that once we solve the I want to say it nicely, because what I want to say, the human shittery. But once we solve the amount of hacks that are happening out there, because I think that is the biggest like a huge stop to entry. Like it's just because for anybody new to enter this market, and there's so much security, and even for people that are seasoned, like literally, like every time I connect my wallet, I pray. Like I just and I am like, I connect my wallet to so few things. I am so freaking paranoid, and I still every time I go like it shouldn't be this way, like there should be a level of security where it's like, yes, like you can get your bank account hacked, and because it's a centralized system, like if it's your credit card, like they'll just give you, they just they refund your money. But and I don't know what the solution is, but I think once we
They're
solve
working
that
on 'em.
pickle,
There's a lot
yeah,
of
that
things
there aren't
happening,
so
like
many
account
hacks.
abstraction and things
Yeah.
like that. And just to bring it back to, I keep on forgetting if it's acceptable to call you Steve or not. But
We need to do an episode just on that.
yeah, we
Because
gotta
I
do an
don't know
interview,
either.
guys. I gotta like it. But just to bring it back to the question from I probably can't do Mr. Miller either. Who owns Mr. Miller.eth? Anyway, to bring it back to the question, look at POAP. When you board somebody through POAP and they do not have, they're new to blockchain, it simply connects them to their email. And your POAP is not minted on chain. It's off chain connected to your email address. And then if and when you choose to get a Web3 wallet, you can then connect, your Web3 wallet or mint that NFT to your Web3 wallet. And so SteveMiller.eth, you can absolutely take an email list, or you can even send an email, right? Like old school, we would have JV partnerships, joint venture partnerships. We'd connect with other people. I would make lists of people that had websites, like coaches or businesses, or I'd make lists of people that had LinkedIn groups or lists of people that had Facebook groups, and I'd reach out to the admins and I'd say, hey, this is me, this is us, this is what we got going on. I got this email, we got 3 emails, they're already written. This isn't exactly how I talk to them, right? But just basically it's like, hey, we want to partner up with you. Let's talk about partnering up. Cool. And be like, we want to send these 3 emails through your list. We want you to send these emails from you. Like, we don't want your list. We don't want it because they're very sensitive. They're like, screw you. We're not giving you my list. Be like, dude, we don't want your list. We want you to take our email and send it to your list. Here's the link. Here's the copy. You replace this paragraph to like be your voice, look at it. They send it. Anybody in their list that clicks on the email, we have a click-through rate from their email to our website. And then we have a conversion rate from our website into our thing. Let's just say they fill out a form. Anyone that fills out the form is then like in our list. And now we capture them. But the same thing can be done with like an NFT, for example. You could like do a thing and be like, yeah, we want to give everybody in your list a free NFT, and all they got to do is like send us email. And you could give, some people will care, some people won't, but it's depends on what the thing is and what the plan is. There's a lot to hash out in that idea, but it's kind of fucking genius. I love it. I think
is there a way? There is a way, right? Because POAPs are basically NFTs, but they don't live.
Yeah, you can totally do POAP. Yeah.
So you can do it via POAP, but there's also another protocol out there that's like one of the big leaders in this exact type of tech. It's called Unlock Protocol, and they're brilliant. Like they have a ticketing solution. They've got everything. But I think that the latest development here with that is that essentially doing exactly what you just talked about, Gary. you can send an email out to any direct listserv, include that link because like you're doing a good for the community, and all of a sudden you actually have built up a list by giving out that specific NFT that you can serve to just by doing a poll of like all the addresses that are now associated with that NFT that claimed. It's, you don't even need to necessarily do the direct marketing or like the what's the word, like the whole like sign up and subscribe to the new newsletter list. Like you don't even need to do that. You can say like just by claiming the NFT, you on the ownership side can go back in. Yeah, you can just do a poll.
That's so genius.
Yeah, it's at least very interesting to me because like that could be a very interesting onboarding mechanism, but very few tools out there exist for it right now outside of Unlock and what I think you can still do on POAP, but then on POAP you have to do all these other bullshit things in the process of claiming. So it's like the UX is just not humanly designed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're gonna have the tremendous amount of, we're gonna see the tremendous amount of innovation that are coming, because it's growing pains. Like the growing pains had a lot of potential space for hacks and potential space for people that didn't have great intentions to just like, get rich on other people's misfortune, sadly, and sucky. And we have seen the very same thing in the very, very, very early days of Web 2. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but it's the early people who had put their credit cards on on websites. It wasn't right security or encryption, and it was very, very easy to live those. And I mean, I personally knew people that like weren't even like what I would say super duper hackers, just like self-taught that could like live the credit card numbers, and they would order all sorts of shit and just have them shipped into some abandoned places, and they'll just drop off the packages. And so we saw a lot of that. And I think in some ways that slowed down that whole process of people putting their credit card online until we started seeing, PayPal. And people were still resistant because the story was the minute you put your credit card online, like somebody's going to hack it and you're going to lose money. And then you're going to have to go through all this thing.
People were onboarded to PayPal through email.
Yeah, and that. But it's like, PayPal came as a solution, right? They were secure solution to putting your credit card and using your credit card for payments. And so we're going to see the same thing.
No, you use your email for payment. I mean, that was the thing about PayPal, but yeah, same thing, but just technically,
well, yes,
back in the day, the pitch was that you use your emails. People were like, I don't want to share my credit card, online. And then, but the pitch with PayPal back then was like, hey, instead of like giving somebody your credit card, you just give them your email. And you just tell us what their email address is. We send them the money, and you don't ever have to give them your credit card information ever again. That was the original.
But that's what I mean. That was the solution, because even the terminology of putting your credit card online had such a negative connotation. And I think we are in the same place right now, that it's like when we think like connecting your wallet to anything has the same kind of connotation of like I'm not connecting I mean, literally, like I had conversations with people over a period of time via DM that I was like, okay, like they seem really legit. And they were like, okay, well, I'm going to send you this thing via Discord. And, my thing is like always, like I'm very clear. I'm like, I don't open Discord links, and they disappear. And I'm like, wow, that was like a very long con. That wasn't like, hey, I just send you a phishing. Like I had a conversation with this person back and forth and back and forth and back and forth over a period of time. And it's very, very interesting how the hackers are getting much, much, much more sophisticated. And I think that the solution that's going to come to that, and this is where I think is genius, is that it's not going to have anything to do with you connecting your wallet anywhere. I think like we burned that path, and so it has to come from somewhere else. And I mean, email isn't going anywhere. Like email is going to be here forever. And I'm gonna dive into both that article and that technology, because I think ultimately is totally genius. Totally genius. And we've been like scratching our brains of building these like very elaborate bridges of how to onboard people into Web3 with these like super complex systems. And I think that that's like the biggest turnoff for people who aren't tech savvy, or even the people who are tech savvy. It's just like, I mean, for me, it's just like, holy shit, are you kidding me? Like, how many steps? And then I sit there and I just click the button, but I don't really know what I'm approving because it's like so tiny that I can't even read the fucking thing. You know, I'm always like, Gary, is it like I've pushed this button like 5 times? Is it okay? Like, what the fuck am I approving? Like, there's no security. It's all like faith. It's all prayer.
You know what I tell her?
You're like,
I say, listen, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor. I guess I'm your husband.
I mean, you know, my shit is your shit. So if my shit disappears, it'll be sadness for you.
Yeah, you know, c'est la vie.
Yeah.
This is why you have separate wallets.
Yeah.
But what is the final I want to know what the ultimate objective is. You know, Gary and Ada have a really interesting story, obviously. And I just want to know, where is their island in the sun? Where is this all going? Is it somewhere in the Bahamas? We talking Hawaii? Where's paradise for you guys? When you've arrived? Where are you going?
So the plan is to have one place that we tell you guys about, and then a handful of other places that
nobody knows about
that won't actually exist, because we're only gonna have one place, and it's gonna be the one place we tell you about, and there's not gonna be anywhere else other than the one place.
Yeah.
And then the mountains of Ecuador.
And then we're gonna have a whiskey island where we're gonna have all of the parties.
I don't want this island. If you want to find a link out, send it to me. I'll share it on our outro. But but then people are gonna front run you, and then you got to deal with that bullshit. But
they better not. I'll fucking find you, and you be sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna swoop your island. I'm gonna double the price and sell it to you.
There's an island in the Adirondacks called, you would never guess it, but it's called Whiskey Island, and it's in the New York Adirondacks in America.
How large is it?
Huh?
How large is that? Is it?
I don't know. If I had a guess, I would say 3 to 5 acres. Ada, did you find it online?
Yeah, I dropped it in the chat.
Okay, let me go click. How big?
Are you kidding? Ada's got it freaking bookmarked.
Yeah, it's 3.1 acres.
Okay, so 2 to 5. I was right.
Yeah.
And does it submerge, or like
nope.
Seasonally?
I mean, it's obviously the lake freezes over the winter, so it's not a year round. It's basically May through September kind of deal. I mean, the Thousand Islands really opens on Memorial Day and it closes on Labor Day. It's sort of seasonal. But aside from that, it's like it's an island life. Like you literally
this website called Islands for Sale. Is that where we are right now? Islandsforsale.com?
Yep.
No, this is a private island.
Private island. Yeah.
This looks like a really cool resource.
But there's
a lot of islands out there, guys, and you can buy islands. If you haven't researched buying islands, I don't know what you're doing with your life. But this is like an island with 3 acres of land, a house. It has a couple boat docks on it.
Docks, yeah.
And
there's a guest house.
You could get them in the Bahamas. You could get them in New York. You get these islands all over the world. And this is one where they used to run whiskey between Canada and the United States during Prohibition.
What's the floor price on an island?
The floor price is cheap, man.
Depends on it. Yeah, no, depends. Like this one, like this one is $3 million, but it's you can, I mean, this one is because it has like an originally built 1875 cottage with 8 bedrooms, 4
There you go,
baths.
man. Right here, Belize. I got. Someone owns Belize.eth. They could buy beachfront lot on Long K. It sounds like a lot though.
Yeah.
But here's an island, Big Tan Cook Island, 12 acres.
Just below that,
70,000.
you can of course go and buy 10 acres of an island in Belize that's casually referred to as Cockroach Bay.
Yeah.
Not gonna do it.
They're actually in Thousand Islands. I kid you not, because we go there every year. There is an island that's called Mosquito Island.
Pass.
Like, you're always like, where do those names come? But I mean, it's like very fascinating. I mean, there's one island that these I think it's bald eagles that are nest very, very rarely. Like a family or a couple of bald eagles had made a nest, which is amazing and beautiful. And all of a sudden, like, your island is like untouchable. Like, anything you want to put, like, you want to cut the grass, you have to like run it by like a conservation people. Like, all of a sudden, it's like your island is taken away from you, and anything that you want to do, you have to get approved because you have an endangered species that is like, breeding on the island. So it's really, really very interesting stuff.
There's another one in Belize for 400,000.
There you go. It's just like, that's just like, depends of where you guys are living. That's just like a price.
Look at this little Belize island.
Can Grubhub deliver out here?
That would be a better place for
like you
for
see,
a crypto party.
you see where this boat
Wow.
is? This is Grubhub right here. You just like take your fishing pole.
Drones,
Yeah,
dude.
you
I
just,
bet you
like-
drones will deliver to an island. Like, that would be a premium service. You could pay maybe like $500 a
Yeah.
month and you get the drone service or something.
Yeah, so you can have an island anywhere. Yeah, where you guys want to live? What's your
What
dream
have I been doing with
place?
my life? I've been on landwatch.com. This is
Dude,
chump change.
Dude, Pumpkin Key. You know what's cooler than an island? A key. I would rather own a key than an island.
Do you guys know?
connected.
Do you guys know about Landio?
No.
No. Oh my God! Go to YouTube. Check out Landio.
Dude, this key is This is $100 million key. Oh, it's 26-acre key. That's a huge key.
Yeah, but Gary, is it a private key?
Yeah, it's a private key. Exactly. Exactly what it is.
Is this a top in the market? Are we in the top right now?
No, in my
we're
world, it's the
dreaming.
bottom.
We're just dreaming. We're like figuring out arrival points.
We're not total degen, so it's not like we're dying in the bear market. It's just we're not making money, which kind of sucks. But yeah, we can still dream. But look at this island of 26 acres. This guy can fit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 plus boats.
Many boats.
He's got like a golf course, a swimming pool, a helicopter pad. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 houses on 26 acres.
See, if we all got on the same page, we could actually like make our own city, make our own rules.
I mean, this is affordable. With 26 acres is a lot of acres, guys.
Imagine like Lord of the Flies degen mode. Just like
we could have like a crypto
ENS.
commune or whatever.
Stephen Miller throws a
this
spear at my
isn't
chest for trying to shill him while he's having his roasted pork or roasted pig or roasted chickens.
I don't know
Evan,
what type of life you think I lead.
Evan is out here building sand castles instead of doing work on the island.
Yeah.
Stop playing in the sand, Evan. No more boogie boarding today.
Evan, you strike me more as a skim boarder. Is that more your style?
I'm a bodyboarder, so just like just the body.
That is savage, man.
There's something I can say there, and I'm not going to do it. You're trying to put it on a tee for me, Evan. I'm not going to take it.
Quad wave.
Oh,
Evan.
nice.
That's you. I just listed it for 0.19. What a
That's a good one.
bargain! Quad wave for bodyboarding is legit. I'm here in the Central Coast, and I had a brother. I have a brother-in-law who used to frequently bodyboard out here and boogie board as well, I guess. But dude, has anyone here skimboarded like to any great effect? Steven, did you ask because you do skimboard?
I've done it once or twice and really, damaged myself. Yeah.
It's so dicey, man. Yeah, it's a young person's game right there.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I've gotten a little bit of air. I kind of like found some good little declines and just mobbed into a wave, got a little spin action or something. It's fun when you actually see like how you can kind of pump your legs and thrust on a wave a little bit. It's a cool sport. Watch some clips on YouTube. There's something to it, but yeah, no, it's a quick way to break an arm or just bust your butt.
Yeah, no, I'll pass.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass on that one. But the dream of the island is still very much alive.
Yeah, island life.
I mean, shit, you
Telling
can get
you.
one for less than a Lambo. Like, why are we still talking about Lambos?
Oh, that's
Island is
like
a boat.
that is so yesterday. Like,
An island is liability. You want a boat? Just be
yeah,
free out in the sea.
the challenging thing with the island, and and this will obviously vary from place to place, is not the initial cost of the island, but what it is to upkeep the island. Like between the taxes, but also it's if it's a seasonal island, like what does it cost to like winterize the island every single year? Like what do you have to do? And like what happens if there are like emergencies or like any of that? It's like a totally different set of liabilities. You have to carry a totally different set of insurance policies that are definitely much more expensive than just than just like having a house. And I think that's where like when people like sometimes even like win lotteries, they just end up losing all the money because it's if you're not used to upkeeping those kind of properties, like you just don't know. Like you just go and buy this really expensive house and you don't realize that the heating bill is going to be huge, and you don't realize that it costs like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to hire somebody to cut the grass.
Yeah, like $400 tax on like a house that's a couple $100,000. Like if you own the house outright, you still own like $400 of tax a month, maybe more, maybe less. But if you own like something that's millions of dollars, then your monthly nut of just your tax every month is $2,000, right? Just your tax bill is $2,000 a month, or maybe you have like a mega mansion, and just your tax bill every month is like $10,000 a month, right? And just your like property tax, it's like crazy things like that. But
van life.
Hey, that's why we need money, and that's why we got to be smart about these things. And that's why there's ENS grants that we haven't talked about, because people are out there making money. We're not going to get into this tonight. I got to go.
Gary's like, I have this really important thing to talk about.
I'm just going to mention it.
Are like DJing, drinking whiskey, and dreaming about islands.
We got one day to vote. That one Ethereum can make a big difference.
So I don't want you to skip over that without saying that Web3 domains is in that. They are one of many. But tell us about Web3 domains.
Yeah, Web3 domains is in that. We're doing a little bit better in the ecosystem version. But yeah, it's a lot of good competition. There's a lot of people building a lot of great stuff at Web3 or on for shooting for these grants. But yeah, no, Web3 domains. Web3 domains is our other website in addition to minting coins. So Web3 domains is where people can just read the stories and get the information about ENS and Web3 and Web3 domains and Web3 identity to learn about, things that are happening in the space. And there's a lot of information that we need to talk about. There's a lot of new things that are coming out. Holy shit, this article had 1.2 thousand views. That's a lot. Yeah. Where all those people come from? I haven't looked at the analytics. And yeah, there's a lot of stories that are just out here that need to be told. And there's a lot of documentation of like what's happening. and I think we were talking about it like really early in the show with Steve Miller, that basically there's a lot that happens on Twitter, and there's a lot of events that happen, or just even things in passing, like, oh, there was this vote, or there was this proposal, or there was this update of code, and all of these things are just in passing. Well, we need to capture, the series of tweets, put it all together, tell the story, and create these articles. So this information is findable, and also so we can highlight thought leaders and people who are building great projects in the space. So that's Web3 domains. It has a lot to do with ENS, but in addition to ENS, it also has to do with telling the stories across all of Web3, because the ENS protocol is just one of the protocols in the top of the stack, right? And there's how people are using Ethereum, how people are using ENS, and all the things in between, like Chainlink and CCIP and signing with Ethereum and everything that gives us, sovereign and mutable collaborative, systems that we have. But yeah, so definitely go to ENS Small Grants, ENS Grants, and that website at ensgrants.xyz, and definitely start voting and start making your voice heard. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, you never know. You could be retroactively rewarded for the things that you do on chain.
And I'm going to add to that, because I heard your share tonight. So I'm going to add a little bit onto Web3 domains on two features or two aspects that I thought were important to get across. And that is, you two, depending on where we're looking, you two are the team that has the knowledge. You guys have the experience that goes into Web2, and so you understand SEO and things like that. And so what Web3 domains is looking to achieve, in addition to sharing that, is do it in a very methodical, strategic way, and the way that's going to have the greatest impact in what is the internet of today. So getting that word out and sharing about the ENS ecosystem, as well as, which is why you're also in public goods, that broader side of things, as you've just touched upon. So the two things I'm highlighting are, you are the team for that, and it's being done in a very sophisticated way, and it has those benefits. And then the second commentary is that the writers are people from the community, and they are paid writers, which is a great contribution. So that's Web3 domains.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys were on the space, but yeah, Gary gave this like fantastic overview. I was like, it was really amazing.
I was inspired by the other builders that I listened to.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that was amazing. Because it's like, I always say, like, SEO is not exciting. It's a very like monotonous death by a million splinters. But it's time, like over time things compact, and we have like huge dreams for Web3 domains, and I can't wait until we have like a big team. Like it's so exciting, and
Bigger
I
team.
can't wait. Yeah, bigger for us, because it's just me and you. But
enough to get you to an island.
Yeah, well, no, enough to get all of us to the island. I mean, that's like, that's like the big thing that it's always been like. It's never been just for the two of us to get rich. Like
the island is very alone.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, everyone thinks the island is cool. Let me tell you guys, if you're on the island and no one's there with you, and you don't have whiskey on Whiskey Island, if you're on Whiskey Island with no whiskey and no friends, Whiskey Island sucks.
Yeah, there's 8
There's
bedrooms.
nowhere to go. What do you do? Go to your car and like go to the bar? It's like, no, you don't got.
No, you're stuck there.
Couchsurfing.eth is taken. I'm sorry.
What's taken?
Did you remember Couchsurfing?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I scored a grail tonight. I got beardoils.eth. I'm gonna build an e-commerce website and sell some beard oil.
Wow.
But hey, 184. You got any closing thoughts?
They're in my comments here. So it's not 183. It's not 185. I'm 184.eth. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the price is 184. Steve Miller, Daddy.
Hey, that's me. I'm Steve Miller.eth as well as Stephen Miller.eth, also known as the Shark.eth. I've got so many .eths you don't even know. I actually am here to share a really exciting announcement tonight. This group that we just heard about, Web3 Domains, just got featured in the latest update of the ENS Twitter Spaces calendar. So if you're interested in checking that out or sharing it, it's over on my profile. You can find me on Twitter at SteveMiller_PHX, where you can also find all sorts of other fantastic spaces, like this crazy Monday night show that's called ENS Interviews that's also on the calendar. It's hosted by this guy called Evan15. You might have heard of him here. Yeah, if you're ever interested in getting your stuff on the calendar and you're hosting a consistent space, hit me up. Otherwise, just tune into Shark Tank every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's my pitch, and I'll leave it to you guys.
That's mysterious and informative.
Wow. Mic drop.
Yeah, I might have to go back and unretweet the tweet just so I can retweet it again. Evan
It's
15.
almost as bad as like liking your own tweet.
No. You can always retweet again. What's up, Evan?
Yeah, Evan15 or management, whatever you want to call me. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Like Steven said, I do ENS interviews. Just had Steven on, representing Shark Tank. That was great. On Monday, I will have Swampwater on, which is doing, like the beer for ENS related stuff. So I think that's gonna be great. Get to talk to them. We got some cool things in the works. It's just great to be here and just like be talking to like fellow builders. I'm just really pumped to just kind of like I'm like a fellow, entrepreneur but like in the making. You guys are kind of more been there, so I don't know. I love learning from other, people who've been there, done that, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and we love having you. I mean, you bring a lot of insight and a lot of information, and I love seeing your perspective. And in addition to your perspective, Evan, just like getting shit done. It's like doing the interviews, showing up, doing the research, connecting with people, like supporting people. It's more than most people twice your age, and so and it doesn't matter what your age is. You're doing more than like anybody else, So it's just awesome. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the kind words.
Novax Gembox.
Yo,
What's going on?
I was really enjoying Evan's ENS interviews with Steven the other day, and Steven was talking about branding and marketing and his tips and guidance and advice and sort of the framework that he follows. And I just found it to be so informative because I've been out here doing everything wrong for about a year, maybe like 18 months or so. When it comes to like trying to build a brand, like I've like rapidly changed my names and profiles. I have not hosted consistent spaces. I've done they were consistent for periods of time, various things. Just I've always just sort of my nature to be an explorer, right, and just go and see what's what and find where I want to settle in. And it's been a really cool journey. But I'm learning from people like Steven and others, and paying attention. It's cool that just to know you guys and to see that conversation. I only caught like a little bit of it, but it really got me thinking about what I want to do and how I want to go about it a little bit more discipline. So that was cool, guys, and thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm going to be doing my things as I always do, the Gymbox Spaces on Monday and Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific. That's where we've been having some good actually turnout there and some good replays, crazy, like 50 viewers live and then 150 playbacks or 200 viewers or 150 viewers, like pretty good numbers. And it's kind of sporadic. Evan will tell you, Evan's always there, co-hosting, holding it down, and we never know exactly where it's going to go. And I'm hoping that will change. To some extent, I like that loose framework and it works, but I'm learning that, within a certain, certain structure, otherwise it can be just a little bit too crazy. So anyway, thank you guys for the constant call to kind of do more and be better. And Gymbox.eth, Novax.eth. I'm out here trying to build with y'all.
You're doing
Gembox.eth. Gembox.io.
Yeah, I've got
Gymbox and
Gymbox.eth and .io, and I'm about to start putting the .eth, the real Gymbox all together and kind of curating my very best of the best. Because as you know, when you have a few hundred domains, it's like you can hardly find, and a lot of it is crap. So I'm starting to put the gyms in the Gymbox now, so that'll be nice seeing the goodies.
Oh, that makes sense why it's called Gymbox.
Yeah, it's kind of like I learned from so many people that you want to have your a couple different TLDs, of course, and your Twitter handles and all your handles, and so I'm starting to think that way more. Somebody has GEMBOX at the at on Twitter, and their account is rugged. And dude, this is so common for people. It's so hard to get your Twitter. So anyway, we should have some space about getting your Twitter. Getting your Twitter matched up with all of your branding, because that's something that actually needs some help on. I was bugging Punks about the other day.
Yeah, definitely true and insightful, and definitely a good action step to think about. Yeah, people need to secure, that they need to get involved. They need to get off zero in terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum. They need to learn about NFTs and what that means, and they need to secure their identity. And and builders, we got to make usability better. And that's what we're doing. We're building. We're trying to figure this shit out. This is sort of the bear market, but it's just very uncertain times. I think they're very uncertain times, and everyone's having fun speculating. And it's sort of like Pompeii, right? The volcano is exploding, or at the very least, there's smoke coming out, and 3 of the rocks have fallen. And the one big rock called Mount Credit Suisse has kind of fallen, but then kind of caught itself. And some people says there's like hundreds of other pieces of rock that are going to shoot out. And everyone's like staring at it and pointing their finger. And the point is, like, some people need to be doing some work. Not just sounding the alarms, but like getting the boats ready and getting some shit built, because we don't want to be standing here when all the ash comes down. We want to be out there on our whiskey islands, or whatever the hell the island is called in the Bahamas. But yeah, man, thanks for everyone for showing up. I'm Gary Palmer Jr. You're you. We're just all out here just minting coins.